But I would call them because I think ours closes at 4:30.
Okay.
I think our local one closes at 4:30.
There's some cool stuff. You don't get everything. The thing on his feet is the marble. That's cool stuff. The thing on his feet.
We're able to put those agendas in there. Those agendas. I don't know what to do with them. You want one of these? Sure. Keep it quicker. Anyway. Right. Yeah, that's where I usually put them. I just forgot to get them out of my folder. I know, you actually yelled, I just forgot.
I know, in the morning.
It's shaped. Are we ready? I'm going to call this meeting of the Tahlequah Public School Board open and tell Wendy that all the members of the board are present and get ready for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Walker.
Yes, for the Pledge of Allegiance, we have brothers Howland Pierce and Camden Pierce. Howland is in kindergarten at Cherokee. Mrs. Hetler is his teacher. Bobby and Lindsay Pierce are his parents. And Howland loves going to church, drawing, and playing soccer. His older brother, Camden Pierce, is in 2nd grade at Cherokee with Miss Morrison. And also his parents, Bobby and Lindsay Pierce. He also loves going to church, playing baseball, and Fortnite.
Okay, next we have Tigers Roar, the THS volleyball team.
Coach Morgan to here tonight, sharing the success of academic state champion of the volleyball team. I'll let him introduce the lady that he has here.
Okay, the 4 young ladies that we have standing right here are seniors. Maggie Brewer, Josie Foster, Natalie Porter, Morgan Pack. Every year, it's not that we challenge our seniors, but we always ask what kind of legacy we leave. And you get all kinds of ideas. This group is unparalleled. Obviously, in a strange season to begin with, they didn't get to play as many matches as we would like. We did have a winning record. They left 22 matches on the table that we didn't get to play that we'd love to have been able to compete in. But no matter what, they practiced They kept a great attitude. They sold out, played hard every time we played. So they left the winning part as a legacy. And then they went above and beyond. For the first time in our history, it started in 2001 for volleyball. This is the smartest girls in class 5. They went out in a 3.973 sprint event, and we were honored with the class 5A volleyball state championship. So.
Yeah.
So they've set the bar high. Now, the only way you can beat that, I mean, you can have a winning record and get another state championship, but it's not easy to do. And there's so many variables that go into the season. This just happens to be a group, seniors included, juniors and sophomores, that were very considerate about how they acted and how they portrayed themselves in the classroom. So it was a unique group. I'm very proud to be associated with them. I'm going to greatly miss them. But again, the legacy they have left is something that will help the other classes as they become seniors and leaders. Thank you for having us the opportunity to stand here. It's nice to surround yourself with smart people. I know it makes you look a little smarter when you go do things. So I thank them from the bottom of my heart for everything they've done for us. Thank you for everything.
Congratulations.
Oh, picture. You got a picture? Well, let's go snap a picture. Where would you like us? Front?
I can't. I'll cut your hair down.
Here's some.
We didn't plan it.
That is correct. All right.
Y'all
Tell us when you're
ready?
ready.
1, 2, 3. Everybody smile.
So smile with our eyes. Did you get it?
Perfect. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations. Okay, item C, discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the minutes for previous meetings, September 15th.
Approve the minutes from September 15th.
Any discussion?
I do have a discussion.
Okay.
Back through it, but one of the items on personnel, I abstained. And then, but they had it down as a yay. So,
Okay.
not the end of the world, but
We make that change.
yeah.
Do I need to move to approve with the
Yes.
change of Ms. Walker abstaining from the personnel?
Second that.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the monthly financial reports.
Good evening. Cash balance at the end of September for the general fund was $5,562,102.91. Building fund, $461,606.20. Co-op fund in the negative, $15,527.91. Again, just a reminder, that is an account that at the end of the year, we wipe that out by paying from the general to the co-op and try to balance it all the way to zero every year. We like that to be nice and clean. No collections in the bond fund this past month, and $165,618.48 in the sinking. Collections in the general fund for the month of September, $2,293,842.64. In the building fund,
Page 4.
collections, page 4 for general, yes. Collections for building, page 6. Building collections were $8,285.81. No collections co-op, no collections bond. Sinking fund had collections at $38,270.73, and that is on page 8. Expenditures. Month of September, payroll, $2,243,690.43. Payable, $340,629.07. Any questions? Activity account, cash amount, $626,000. $626,281.59. Our CDs are at $200,181.26. We are looking for some options with our CDs. We have one that is extremely low and we like it to potentially make us a little bit more interest, and we can do that with large amounts of money such as this. So we're looking to get some access to quotes. And then also while we're doing that, we're going to just ask them to provide us with information about possibly switching our banking account to another bank. It has been more than 30 years that we've been at First State. We aren't unhappy with them. They just don't offer some of the services that some of the newer banks offer. So we will definitely include them, of course. But part of the process would be asking these questions. Can you provide us this? One of the things that's very specific that First State Bank can offer, but it's kind of in an alternative fashion. We want to explore the option of us being able to accept debit or credit cards for payments. When you get to the gate, if you don't have $20 cash, you don't have to worry if you use your card. First State Bank has a very antiquated method that to go into our account, and then an antiquated method for us to figure out which fund or which sub account gets how much money. Armstrong, Arvest, Bank of Oklahoma, and several others have proposed to us that they can offer. So we're going to be working on that. We would not be in the process of changing until next school year. So we expect to have potential quotes or proposed by January. So that gives us enough time to work with them and have more discussions, allow them to maybe offer something different or new. We also like the contributions that those banks make to us that usually go into our activity accounts for sports, local music, band. So we want to make sure we're taking full advantage of every dollar that we can, especially in this time. I know a lot of the fundraisers are just lagging right now. So it's just really tough. And we really appreciate the support that they give us. Any questions?
I would. Are we gonna vote on that one thing? We go to child nutrition.
No, we have, Dana's gonna give her.
Evening. Myers, good evening.
Well, child nutrition is finally rocking along and not getting our world changed and turned upside down every single day, which is nice. We were notified last week that the USDA is going to allow all children 18 years old and younger to receive free meals until June 30th of 2021, which is
That's nice.
it's so awesome. That's awesome news for our district families. Hopefully that will help alleviate some stress for them during this pandemic. It will definitely alleviate some stress for our teams. We can focus on preparing food, serving food, instead of charging and all that good stuff. So
What's the time frame on that?
June 30th, 2021. Yep. That is all children 18 and under. So not only is it for our students that are enrolled, But it's for anybody. Students that have siblings at home, their parents can come get meals, and we can provide them meals. So it's really nice. It is. USDA is Child Nutrition's governing body. They're the one, whatever they say is what we have to do. So, yes, that is federal.
When did it officially start, this program?
Well,
Or when does it officially start?
it officially started when the pandemic started in March. However, when they started school, if everything was going to go back to normal, but it didn't. So everything has been free since the beginning of school.
So no students have had to pay for any meal since they started school.
That is correct. For a couple of days there, kids were charged because this hadn't happened yet, but we went back and refunded all of that money in their accounts. So no student has been charged for the whole school year, nor will they be, regardless of income or any other thing. Now, USDA let us do that, but they also required that we still get free and reduced applications from our district families. That's been a little confusing for our district families, understandably so. Why do we have to fill out applications? Everybody's going to be free. But luckily, our district has understood that very well, and we have gotten a tremendous support with the applications turned in. Our grade schools are at 100%. 100% of their kids have turned in free and reduced applications. On my Zoom meetings with the state every week or every other week, so many districts are struggling with getting applications turned in, and I'm just in awe at our district because we do so well. And that is because our district is awesome. Our staff, they work tirelessly. So, and unfortunately, we're still required to get them. So that's a task that they've taken on though and done very well. We continue to feed traditionally in cafeterias. In the classroom, we are still offering curbside pickup at Cherokee and delivering to Garden Walk and Fox Mobile Homes. We're still doing that. The Child Nutrition Department still, yeah, I already said that. I've also provided you a copy of our free and reduced percentages as of October 1st. And behind that is last year's, just so you can look. And as a reference. Our free and reduced percentage has gone down this year. That has nothing to do with how many applications we get in. That doesn't have anything to do with that. Not sure why it has gone. We had a lot of kids that didn't qualify this year. It might have something to do with the unemployment, the extra unemployment the families were getting. So that might have changed, but that's what it is as of October 1st. That's when we have to count. That's when we have to turn our numbers into the state. Actually, for me, it's October 31st, but the district is October 1st. So I have a different set of percentages for October 31st for child nutrition. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I do, Dana.
Okay.
If we're offering free meals
Yes.
being paid for by this program, then what is the need for the free and reduced forms and all of that?
That's an excellent question. I can't answer that question. The State Department can't answer that question. That is USDA. They basically, in child nutrition, we are having to do everything just like it's a normal year because there's no guidance on what to do from the USDA. So we just have to keep doing it like we would normally do it. And then when they give us guidance, we'll go from there. But the USDA did send out a memo saying you still have to get free and reduced applications. So
Well, Mr. Myers, I can speak to that mainly as far as the school. I mean, each year, our free and reduced number, it affects,
yeah.
Students eating. But then also on the flip side of the school finance, it goes into the state funding formula every year, what our free and reduced percentage is. So we have to have that percentage in order to calculate our state aid each year. And then also every grant or anything else that we apply for every year wants your current year free and reduced percentage. So we have to maintain those numbers even though we're not using it that way. Whether it be a state program or federal program, we have to be able to tell them what percentage of our students are free and reduced. So that's the biggest reason why we have to have that number, and it has to be as accurate as possible.
I see. Now, how many meals a day are we serving then? Is it just breakfast and lunch, or is it breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or what? That is free?
did you ask what meals are served that are free?
Yeah, that are part of this program from the federal government. Is it 2 meals a day, or is it 3 meals a day, or what is it?
It is breakfast, lunch, and supper.
So we're essentially just feeding everybody under 18,
That is correct.
whether they're a student or not.
That is correct.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Myers?
No, I just find that rather astounding.
Yeah, well, I mean, anytime we can, let our community members and students eat for free, we'll take advantage of it. So it is a great program. I know it's a little bit different for a student that wouldn't be one of our students to be able to eat, but still, it doesn't cost us a dime, so it works out great.
Well, it doesn't cost us out of our budget, but somebody's paying for all of this.
Very true.
That is true. Any other questions?
Any other child nutrition questions?
Thank you. Child nutrition, we rock and roar.
All right, girl.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Along with the monthly financials, we are asking you to make a few changes and corrections to some of our activity accounts along with that motion.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that comment.
I flipped through that and looked at that information.
Diane, what were the main changes on those?
Are changing the description and the purpose of the account. Several of the accounts that we had to make refunds for did not have that included. There was another, one of the other items, there was another addition too that we had to make a correction to the purpose of the account so that we could spend the money that way for it. I believe it was postage. Some of them had mail that they needed to get to those students throughout the summer, and that was did not happen. So district covered it, but they want to be able to have that opportunity in the future.
Any questions on the monthly financial report? Do I have a motion?
Second.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Nemo?
Aye.
Ms. Walker? Aye. Mr. Shepherd? Aye. And I. Discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the 2020-21 operational budget.
I handed this out. Everybody has one at their station. Mr. Myers, I have your copy right here.
Okay, I'll be down probably tomorrow sometime.
I will be expecting you.
Ah,
The document that we presented last week it's a very tedious document to look through, but basically everything in that has been translated into this document. So we start out with just a district at a glance, talks about our mission, our purpose, our vision. We have to have a district methodology, which you'll also find in there. And then on page 4, you will see we have some statistical information regarding our student membership on October 1st, number of district employees, and then a fund balance history for both general and building fund. That's really just to give you some reference. If you have questions about where we are now, this will kind of give you some background. Page 5 is our current year, 2021, projected revenue sources. We have 23.97% of our $39,359,171.58 total expected or anticipated revenue. Of that, 1.07 is county, 53.87 is state, and 21.08% is federal. The lower section of that page is just a breakdown of the past state aid projections from the beginning of the year, and then state aid actual. So you can see it's just kind of like a tidal wave. You just roll with it. Some years are good, some years are bad. Page 6, page 7 are the actual publication sheets that we publish in the newspaper, and also we take that to the excise board, the county excise board, and they approve that, and that's what makes it official. Page 8. This is a detailed list of the specific general fund revenue and categories. So you'll see in the orange column, a lot of that is our local dollars, our fund balance, county dollars, and none of the state or none of the federal are in the orange. Projects that we have to track and report by that project number are shown in the blue category. We always budget the full amount for revenue, and we always budget the full amount on expenditures. That doesn't mean we always make it to that, because we are allowed to have some carry forward. For example, the bottom two numbers, the 788 ESSER CARES Act formula, that is our allocation for this year. What isn't spent will be our carry forward and our new allocation next year. The same with 789 CARES Act incentive. I believe that has to be spent by September 30th of next year. So you'll see some of those same numbers from that category roll to next year, but that's okay because we've planned for that when we budgeted. At the bottom, the top section shows the total revenue. That's what we anticipate collecting. And then the line below shows our total anticipated expenditures. The orange column, if you'll turn to page 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, you will see that broken down by function category. Top of page 9, if you will roll back over to page 17, you will notice that the color coordinated numbers in green match the color coordinated numbers in green on that page. Basically what that is how the largest section of our money is spent. $15,816,000 is what we are planning to spend out of that category of money. Again, things are fluid, things change. A lot of these numbers get moved from category to category, or we end up with an additional gift or a grant. For example, last year, we weren't anticipating a $4,000 check from Cherokee Nation that they wanted designated specifically to STEM projects at the high school and middle school. So again, there are going to be things that come in throughout this next year that we will be adding to this. Unless you absolutely want to see an entire new copy of this, I will be happy to email it to you. I won't produce the book again, but we will always keep it up to date and current. Okay, so if we go over to page 14, that's where the blue category project budgets are. Every one of those has to be spent in that category. Each of those categories have different sets of rules, and some of them have separate sets of guidelines and require a separate process to actually get the money, to earn the money, and then also to qualify to get it reimbursed. As Dana pointed out, we are going to be making some adjustments with the child nutrition categories. Again, with the anticipation that we're either going to get reimbursed, but yet again, we don't know what that process is going to be. All right, page 18 is the big ticket items, a comparison for 10 years. You can see how utilities have gone up, gone down. You can see a really nice number for actual for FY20. That's pretty big thing to be below 600,000 in a district our size. And then fuel also. Spring is typically our largest travel months because of a lot of the athletic groups, music groups, BOE, career tech competitions. I'm sure Mr. Jones can tell us how many vehicles are out on any one given day. So that's probably why we have seen such a large drop there. Our OSAG insurance, which is workers' comp, is down from the previous year, but our liability and property insurance is up just a tad. So I like to include that so you can see where we've been, where we're going, and what we're projecting. The next page 19 shows you a general fund expenditure comparison. So when you look back on that very first page and you say, oh my gosh, are we gonna ever spend $25 million or $39 million? Well, you can see we budget high and then we control and we manage by spending. So there's a graph and a chart and numbers for you to look at. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. Following that is on page 20 is our cooperative fund revenue budget. We anticipate revenue of $125,758.26, and that is what we will spend out of that category. Building fund, that's a new one and that's a fun one. Last year's news about being able to claim the 7002 land for the first time was a nice chunk of cash going into our building fund, as well as to the disabled students in the general fund. So we have typically seen a nice increase in that category that we expect to receive from now on, as long as the federal government still continues to fund impacted. Page 22, 23, 24 is a series or a history of our bond funds. The newest bond fund is at the top of the page on 22. You can see the progression from 2020 all the way back to the 2009 bond issue. Any questions? Last but not least, I was going to take this poem out and then I left it in because I read back through it and it could not be more pertinent and on point as to where we are right now. It was written by our former Assistant Director of Transportation, Larry Wood. And he writes, who we are. We wake up in the morning before the sun is up, hurry from the shower to fill our coffee cup. Then it's out the door quietly, careful not to wake the husband or wife. Off to school we go with a mission, hoping to touch a student's life. We are educators, no matter the title we're given, from custodians, teachers, bus drivers, or even child nutrition. We all make a difference when we all work together. There's not a better feeling than a student saying, "Because of you, my life is better." We never know their home life or what happens behind closed doors. There's only one reason we should all strive to do just a little more. What an opportunity we have to make the world a better place. If you have ever wanted to see the future, just look at a child's face. They are our tomorrow, a reflection of our hard work and teaching. So may we all make a difference, and for the stars keep on reaching. I know sometimes we get tired and feel like we can do no more. Just keep reminding yourself and others, we are the Tahlequah Tigers. Hear us roar. I included some pictures from beginning of the school year, and some of them go back into the middle of March when we were here figuring out how we were gonna serve food to those children. I think I got some pictures from every department and every school. It's just really nice, like Don Ogden said, to be surrounded by people who are incredibly talented, intelligent, and kind-hearted. I mean, that's just something you don't find everywhere. So, at the very back of the book, pages 27, 28, and 29 are the OCAS, Oklahoma Cost Accounting System, implementation system guidelines. If you're curious on that, I can share a whole notebook of that with you. That's basically how we record what we spend and why we spend it, where we spend it. Any questions?
It's a nice book, Diane.
Very, very good job.
Very
Thank you.
thorough.
Very detailed.
Any questions?
Move to approve the FY 2021 operational budget.
Second that.
A discussion, Mr. Myers?
No, I mean, no discussion. Aye, yes, I do. Aye.
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And I. Principal and Director's Report.
First, I'm gonna have, kind of do an update. Last month's meeting, we had asked the principal to talk about how virtual learning is going. We identified some things that we need to do better, some of those changes that have taken place. So I just asked them to give a little update tonight on the changes that have happened since the last board meeting.
Good evening, I'm Miss Mashburn. How are you guys doing tonight? I'm going to talk about secondary and virtual and some of the updates. Like we said last time, we were talking a lot about courseware and momentum for secondary, the difficulties in that. So it started out with middle school doing the switch to let's take them off of the courseware for those core subjects. Let's get them into Google Classrooms and let the teachers. They already kind of had a structure in place because they had an additional time in the day that was for remediation, and that became virtual. So at that time, there were about 274 students that were in the virtual program. We currently have 171. And so about 103 students have exited. Some of that, 45 in September and 58 so far in September. So that's been a lot of reaching out to parents and saying, I'm sorry, your child's not being successful, just trying to locate them. I know that the principal, Ms. Keys, she's been out with Officer Stanglin. They've gone to homes, they've searched for things, bringing back kids and saying, it's not working for you, but we open our arms and ask you to come back to school. A lot of the challenges that they're dealing with, you know, it's just, imagine if you've ever been an educator, what you were used to in a classroom was traditional students in front of you. Now you have traditional students, you have virtual students, and you have students of distance, because we can't forget our students are being quarantined for 14 days or for however long and coming in and out. So you're managing you have your principal trying to manage and keep that building up and the spirits up, and you can do this and we can do this. And it's just been a great effort, I know. I know that the principals at the middle school, Ms. Key, she does shout outs. She has Zoom conferences with them just to keep hearing the feedback. What can we do to make things better? And our teachers have just been tremendous at every site in our district. But I'm here to talk about our secondary students and teachers, and they've really done a good job. Of those, there are 20 that are blended. And that would mean they would come and have some elective like sports or athletics, or they would come to band, and then the other 171 are virtual for all their subjects. If I talk about the high school, we started out with the high school over 400. We had around 460. We are at 364. We have 87 that are blended of those 364. It has been a different process because we started out with the high school with that many students that were on Admentum for everything. We did not have built-in structures already where our teachers had, like an extra remediation time. So Lacey began to get her crew together, and we began to do a lot of dialogue with teachers and what can we do? And it just went from, oh my gosh, we can't do this, to the teachers coming up and joining together saying, we can do this. If you do this, this, and this, if you collapse these classes. We affected probably 150 traditional student schedules that had to move. So it was a whole effort because we would try to keep their lunch the same, and we might have to just change a teacher, but we would have to collapse some of the regular classes so it would allow a teacher to have virtual periods. So when we started, we had 5, 6 virtual teachers that we thought, oh, then our number was so huge that we thought, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do? So through all this planning time, we have over 30 teachers or more now at the high school that we have given them maybe 1 or 2 virtual periods with students. They have just been tremendous in their attitudes and their efforts. It is very difficult. Sometimes they just want to vent. They just want to go to the principal and just say, I just don't like any of this, but I know there's nothing we can do. And what I think they're such troopers is because they're doing it for our students. They know that they were floundering, they couldn't stand it, and they knew we have to do something. So that's just been totally awesome in seeing that, just the community of our school. We had 2 retired administrators, David Bookout and Janelle Maggs, that started spearheading some of our virtual. They've been going out. They're both very well respected in the community and have been here. They can find you no matter if you're hiding under a rock, it seems like. And they have really rallied in a lot of students. We're down to the end. We're really going to focus on seniors. And there's probably about 20 seniors that they're just missing in action. I mean, we're really trying to find those seniors. We're at the point to turn off their devices. It can give us a location, but, just to be ready for what to do. Our graduation rate and completion and summer school, all those things will have to be considerations for this year. But in talking with other districts, I feel like we're not alone in the state because it's just, trying to chase kids and make them be successful. And I think they've done a really good job at all levels.
Are we still using Admentum?
Yes, they're still using Admentum. We use it for credit recovery. We use it at the alt site. There are a few students left, 10 or 12 students that are totally have been successful that are doing that. And we are using it still for the electives because a lot of students were already hooked in electives that were different than what we offered. So if we either have some teachers that are leaving it on Admentum and then they're just monitoring it. So I can think of one of them being culinary, where Ms. Bloom has just decided this year I'm going to let them do that program, but since I teach culinary here, I'm just going to stay on that. So it's a mixture right now.
So what do we do exactly? Did they go to distance learning through Google Classroom or what?
The students that are staying virtual, they went to Google.
Okay.
They went to Google, so they're getting our teachers, they're getting our math teachers, they're getting our English teachers. For example, we added 3 other additional English teachers to help Ms. Havens and Ms. Baird. 8 or 9 of our math teachers. They're just spreading that math out. So they're getting that instruction and that feedback from our high school teachers.
They're doing the, to be clear, they're doing the admin, that's where the work is.
No, no longer on the core classes. If it's Google, it's with the teacher.
Okay.
It's in that platform. They had to revamp. They had to all get emails, know how to get into their new accounts. It was a whole big process that they worked.
The admin, you said, is only for credit recovery and some electives.
Some electives. So a student right now could be doing Google and Admentum. So it's a big process out there.
The people, the kids, do they seem to be responding better? Parents happier with
They're
this?
responding, but you know, we don't want to sugarcoat anything. We've got some kids in some damage zones, and we had some parents that just said, "Oh, they're just out there working," and I just thought they were working. Well, they've been on for 3 seconds. So you know what I'm saying, and we're just like, we couldn't find you. We're trying to reach you. Just you know. It's better, it's going to be better, but it's going to take some time to pull this.
Keeping up with, attendance with them.
Oh,
I mean,
attendance
they
is
just
a
went
big deal.
into hiding.
Because what we're doing at the secondary level is not daily attendance. At the secondary level, they'll teach all week, and then we look at a certain day, report in and say, okay, this much work was due, 90% of this, did they get in what they should have got in? Okay, we get to keep their attendance as present because it'll just count them present for that day unless you mark absent. So yes, that's a whole nother thing to juggle, is a different way to take that attendance.
Now, is it coordinating, everything's coordinating with it? Is it Wingate that, okay,
Yes.
so attendance, and so everything is back in.
It's coordinating. It's a difficult coordinating task.
Somewhat, so
Coordinating.
keep up.
Right, it's not,
I'm
yes,
just kind of throwing out things I was hearing from, I've had probably 4 or 5 parent
right.
calls, so, I just said.
But Wingate
you know,
doesn't coordinate if you're asking, Admentum doesn't coordinate with Wingate.
Never
Yes.
could get that.
Never could get that piece. However, they'll go back and check and communication happens and they'll go back manually to the attendance people and they'll say, okay, they were absent 3 out of those 5 days or whatever. Or they were absent every day. They didn't do one single thing. We're calling parents, so we need to mark them absent all of those days.
And grading, as far as that goes, if there were kids who were working and getting assignments in, but those who didn't, where you can pick them up, where they do start participating now in Google
For
Classroom.
example, when they came, are you saying
uh-huh.
from Admentum and moving? Yes. The teachers they just worked with wherever they were and just said, we're going to try to just give you something so you can, get started, not at bottom 0.
That's good.
Yes. They were gracious to do that. So I'll let Ms. Lightcap, if you don't have anything further for secondary, talk about elementary.
I just want to echo what Deanne said. These ladies are rock stars. They face challenges every day and solve problems that we don't even hear about in this office because they take care of it. Our teachers, I could not be more proud of them. Like Deanne said, it's just been a very strange year for all of us. Just think about, you've got some kids in front of you, you've got some kids over here waiting to ask you a question, and it's very different. And I know it's exhausting for them. You can see it in their face. They're very fragile. I don't know any other way to say it besides they're fragile from the stress. In the beginning, we literally had to tell them, stop taking calls at 10 and 11 at night. You're not on call 24/7 because they were exhausted. But I just couldn't be more proud of the group that we have. They've done a phenomenal job. Deanne and I were on a WebEx last week with OASA and its superintendents, assistant superintendents. Were there 150 people? Everybody said the exact same thing that we're saying. Some to a greater level, some to a lesser degree. But they put us in chat rooms to talk about different issues. And everybody had the same problems that we were having. Some of them were not having as much luck getting the students that had signed up for virtual to actually do the work. And again, that's where I contribute that to the principals. The SROs have been invaluable to this experience because we had students that signed up for virtual but never turned their computer on. So they've been running down those computers, filing police reports for people that have left, which we don't have that many, and I'm just amazed. But it has definitely been a huge effort on their part. I do not remember the first number that we started out with elementary virtual because I don't even know how many changes the enrollment clerk makes a day, but that's all she does is take students from virtual to traditional. You guys have any idea how many?
I went from over 160 to 109 as of today at 11 o'clock. But I have some that are in the process of considering switching.
And that's what they're doing when students are not successful. They're making calls to each of those homes. When Brenda ran this on the 19th, we had 357 elementary students that were still virtual. 273 of those were actually being successful. So it's that other 24% that keeps us up at night and keeps them on the phone all the time. That's what you said.
How many were being successful?
About 76.5%, right around there somewhere.
273.
But they're diligently trying to get those kids back in and having the conversations with the parents that you do understand that we can't just advance them to the next grade if they're not completing the work. So lots of conversations to be had, and they're doing such a good job. Elementary is still using Exact Path primarily for students that scored very low. We are offering it to any student, but to the very low, and then also for enrichment because it takes them up as high as they can go. And there's just a multitude of other software we're using and implementing. We would have died on the vine if Mr. Ashlock had not given us 2 computer or technology coaches. Robert probably worships because we would have been in so much trouble. They helped us with everything from importing. All of those software programs have to have student roster imports. That's done primarily through Robert, and I can't even speak to it because it uses so many different things to make it all work. But we're up and running with every piece of software, still working out minor bugs. But Eric and Sam are available to help teachers anytime they need help with their software. And they are running still every day and coordinating with Robert. But I just praise him for that foresight because we really would have been in more trouble than we actually knew when we hired them. Any questions?
I just want to make a comment. It's interesting, and I know you all have heard it also. And you hear it sort of nationwide. There's always been the assumption, kind of an attitude that anyone can teach. You just have kids sit down and tell them what they need to do. And since parents have been having to try to do a bit of this teaching, they're discovering that there is an art.
Yes.
There's a skill, but there is an art to teach. And I think that has become highly recognized nationwide.
I think parents have, do you think, appreciated our teachers more?
I think there's an entire appreciation for public education that has been missing for the last 20 years. And just happy to see it. And very appreciative to all.
She is sick of it. She doesn't want any part of it.
As a virtual schooling parent, first of all, my kids love it. Like they don't miss going to school. We have a couple of neighbors and they get to see their friends. And they've really adapted really well. my husband and mother-in-law do most of it, so I don't, but it is the amount of work, and they're still, you said 60 hours, they're working 80 hours. I mean, you know, when a teacher has been on, because like the kids have to submit their work, but it doesn't like go on, like Seesaw, the little family app that for the young grade kids. And I don't see it on my app until the teacher grades it and approves it. And sometimes that's at 10 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, but that's because she's been working all day. I don't know if you all know how this, so for the little ones, they all get on, ours is first and second, and the whole group, there's 20, 30 of them, I have full class size. They all get on a 30-minute group in the morning to Zoom talk, and then they have breakout groups for reading. But there are like 3 or 4 in each group. So from 8 o'clock till 11 noon, I don't know, their teacher is in groups with these kids still that, you know, either they're quick learners, still having to try to unmute, or I can't hear you, or plug your headphones in, or, you know, turn your camera on, or whatever it is. And then they have to go, then the kids go do everything they're not face to face with their teacher, but they're in all these different programs completing their assignments, but the teacher has to go back in and check those and grade them and make sure they're right. And I mean, it's just like girl grading. She puts little stickers on them and says, great job, or practice your B's, or, I mean, it's a lot, and I can't, and I can only speak from my one experience, and Beth Davis is doing an amazing job, but I agree. I mean, I never thought anyone could teach, but be home with 2 kids for a day. God, it is hard work. And anytime we've asked questions, we've got responses. I brought my kids iPad in tonight because I had an issue that I think Robert fixed, but it is inspiring. And I'm so proud of Tonopah because as you all know, across the state, things aren't going as well. We see in the news of other principals and superintendents and teachers and protests and walkout, and everything I've heard about Tonopah, even when people are complaining about it, but we're doing a great job and everyone's doing the best they can in the situation. I'm so proud that we gave the option of virtual and in person, and I could not be prouder to be part of the school system. Thank you. As a parent, as a school board member, as a community member, I am just supremely proud of everyone. It's great.
I knew my granddaughter, Kate, she had stayed out because she was having allergy issues and having to start those shots and everything. So they thought, you know, keep Kate home. And I had been going over working with her with reading and writing. And one afternoon, she's reading to me. We're reading Alice in Wonderland, and I have questions that I've made up for her. And she said, Nana, what time is it? She said, she realized it was 3 o'clock. She said, I have to go now. I go out and watch the school children come walking down. And I realized how much she was missing. She's back in school now. But, I mean, she blew me off and out the door.
I think I kind of forget how social they are and how important you're lucky to have neighbor kids.
And I have 2. They have
Yeah. So they have built-in friends. But yes, that social part is so important.
One of the things that our teachers are really paying close attention to now is the mental health of these children when they're checking in with them. Because we're seeing some sad some sad faces. And so we're also making those phone calls to parents and just saying, you know, hey, has their attitude changed? Do they seem withdrawn? You know, we're kind of starting to see that. And they're coming back for that reason. So they're also watching for that. They're not just grading papers, they're also watching for signs of the mental health job.
It's also working. I mean, these kids are, my kids read out loud every day and I hear them read, and in 2 or 3 months, like like those are my first graders growing up and I can't spell words anymore. And they know what I say when I do it. And that's new. That's happened within the last 2 months. So even though you're doing, when we closed in the spring, we just had to live through, and we knew when we came back that we were going to have virtual. It had to be real education, and it is real, and it's tough, but it's real education, and they're learning things. extremely impressive.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Great job, Doug.
I will say I'm very, very proud of our teachers. You know, it would have been very easy for them to just say, well, we'll just figure out Edmonton and that kids will be okay. But they knew that the kids would not really be okay if they didn't have a little bit more contact with them and make sure the kids that would be coming back, I should say. Not that the kids wouldn't be okay, but that it would be an easier transition if they came back to school. And so they rearranged, they made it happen, they made it work. So, Ms. Mashburn did say the dropout rate for next year. I'm praying, guys, and we are working so hard that this time next year, I will have a similar dropout report. Janelle Meggs, David Bookout, Gary Goodwin, Burchett, they are chasing these kiddos, but there are some kids, just like Ms. Mashburn said, they are not working right now. And so we are going to work very, very hard to get them back, especially our seniors. So no, that's our focus. Know that I feel like I have a pretty good report to tell you tonight, and I hope that next year at this time, I have a similar report. So this was based off of last year's data, 2019, 2020. So when we did the report, there were 20 total students that were reported as a dropout. But then after that, you go back and you double check, and we had one that came back to our district. We had 3 that we got their transfers to another district. Then we had 1 that passed the GED test, and then we had 1 that actually was a homeschooling kiddo. So with, you take those 6 kiddos out, and our total dropouts for last year were actually only 14 students. So that's pretty good. So if you'll look back, down here, 2019, 2020, we had 20 at first, then we found those 6 corrections. So then that left us with 14 students total. The year before, we only had 7. So we did go up, but really, if you go up and you look back on the years, we really have been doing pretty well. And I really do feel like that has to go back to the team working together. This was before my time, so I'm not trying to take credit for this. This is the team working together. This is Burchett. This is Gary Goodwin.
Yes. They made the difference.
They made the difference. I'm telling you, and our resource officers. So I don't want to take them out of it either, but they are working hard. Marcus Sands, Miss Officer Phelps, they're calling parents. Goodwin is figuring out where they're at. Burchett's figuring out. And now this year, I really do believe that Ms. Meggs and Mr. Bookout will also help with this. They're really working on the virtual. But the numbers right now, I'm just praying, we're just working hard. That's what I'm telling you. I think these numbers are pretty good, and I hope these numbers are good next year. So keep on going. So we have 302 seniors, 11 of those in-state withdrawals, 5 out-of-state withdrawals. We have 16 total. 286 seniors graduated, 2 earned their GED, and 1 senior was a 10-day drop. So our graduation rate was 99%, which is actually really amazing. Like I said, I just really feel like it's those people chasing. Go ahead, Robert. So college remediation rate, of course, we will always work on this. We will try every year to make this better. If you look at ours though with the state, we're actually a little bit better than the state. Ms. Mashburn and I were talking that ours and the state are a little bit better of a comparison than the county, because with Tahlequah High School, say, I think it was 122 students went to high school, where in the smaller schools in the county, the numbers just don't compare the same. But either way, we're going to keep working so that our remediation rate goes down every year. So that's all I have. I'm very, very proud of the graduation rate. Like I said, I was not there last year position, but I will continue to work
to keep it the same. But you guys have any questions?
So those are all of our public universities, those are
In this Oklahoma,
in Oklahoma
Yes.
State, yes.
Oklahoma, yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Benny?
Thank you, Lacey.
Keep working hard.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet.
Okay, superintendent's report.
I'll just kind of echo everybody said so far. My conversations with other school districts, superintendents. It occurred, not perfect. They're difficult to work with today, but I really do believe that we have our fair share of headaches, but I hear a lot more. And again, that speaks to, like I said, our principal, the director, the teacher, bus drivers, custodians. So everybody's just pulled together. And I think somebody said, you know, there's some times where people want to vent, need to get it out, but at the end, everybody just they do their job. They come together and they put the plane behind and figure it out. It's everybody is making the best of the not a great. There's nowhere else I'd rather be sitting. It's all because of those people. I appreciate them. Appreciate the board. You guys give us everything we've asked for. Going on MPD or changes or policies or anything like that. Support us. So I appreciate that. It's been a team effort. Just a few things on COVID-19. Just kind of an update since the last board meeting. We've had 13 positive cases in the district. Since the last board meeting, that has led to 92 other quarantines. So 13 cases, 92 quarantines in a month, last board meeting. And that's a combination. Some of those 13, I didn't break it down. Staff, some kids, some of them tested positive, but they weren't at school for 5 days, so nobody had to quarantine. So it really just kind of depends on the situation. And also kind of a byproduct of what we talked about, we're trying to get these kids who are not being successful in virtual back in school. That kind of benefited us at first because we had a lot of kids not here. So it made it easier to social distance in the classroom. Now we're seeing some of those classroom kids coming back. Now we're making it a little bit harder to social distance like we were. So that is a valid concern that some of our teachers have. We're working the best we can to just spread them out the best we can. Like we told them, I mean, the space that we have and the teachers that we have is what it is. So we're trying to do the best we can. But that is a new situation that we are facing as when those kids come back. Obviously, we need them back. They're not going to be successful if they're not here, but then that also makes it a little bit harder on teachers and principals in the classroom, the social distancing portion of it. So that is something that we're aware of and working on. Jumping the gun just a little bit, but on our Cherokee Nation tag money, those numbers, our enrollment numbers, our October 1 numbers were down about 140 kids last year. October to this October 1. Our Cherokee student count is down 85 students, so that will have an effect on our tag money allocation. Last year we got $320,000. So I don't know exactly. We haven't got the calculations yet, but we'll take a little bit of a hit there with losing 85 kids. So. Outside of that, that's basically it. Most of mine have a lot of stuff to go over with bond, but we have a couple of items there. Outside of that, are there any other questions? Anything?
We still no known school transmission, that the cases that are positive, are we aware of any that?
We've not been aware of any, I correct in saying that.
Say that again.
I don't know of any that we've traced that they have caught COVID at school. We've been able to trace everything. They caught it at home or an event or somewhere else.
One of those quarantines, let's say we quarantine 13 or 14 throughout the day, maybe at the high school, we're not seeing those kids not being able to come back after their time. Most of those aren't testing positive after having to go home. So
I don't know of a case where even an accusation that they caught. So that's good. All right, that is my report.
Do you have any public to be heard?
No.
Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following surplus.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Seaman,
Aye.
Ms. Walker, Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the following bids and or quotes.
And this bid is the last couple of months, we've talked about the COPS grant. The big portion of that grant was the key, the locks, doors, school district. And so that's what that is.
We approve that. The purchase of the hardware replacement at Southfield High School.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Zemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker, Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Consent docket, vote to approve or not to approve the following business items.
To approve items K 1 through 3.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Zemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the adoption of the following policies.
And this is a new policy, and it's very short, see, but it tells, and I should have included the actual plan. I can send that out to you tomorrow. That's my fault. I should have put it in there. I think it's called the Riley Fulbright Act. I should have required us to have a written response plan for any issues that may happen during extracurricular activities. So this is just a short policy saying that that plan has been, is on file. Where and Mr. Cloud did a very good job in this matter of crafting that policy. I'll get that sent out to you tomorrow. That's my oversight. The actual policy is just saying that we have it. It's on file.
It's a policy for what? I didn't hear.
It's a response, medical disaster response for extracurricular activities. The policy itself, as you look, that's in the your packet, is just very short. The policy just says we're required to have it on file with county and city and local. And I forgot to actually put the plan in there. The plan is not the policy, but I'll get that out to each of you so you can see the actual plan as well.
Yeah.
But as far as the policy that you're approving is just that short snippet.
I move to approve item L1, the policy 3178 relates to extracurricular activities and emergency medical services.
Second. Do you have any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Zemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Item M, discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the revision review of the following policies.
This policy is already on the books. There's been no changes. We just have to have it documented that the board reviewed it, approved it each year. Related to our impact.
Goes back to 1980.
Yeah, it's been a-
Yeah. Well, does it matter? There were a couple of grammatical, well, punctuation errors. Do we want to make those changes? I mean,
we can make any change.
do we have to vote on that, or can I just?
Even leave it, maybe we'll just make them.
All right.
For the motion,
Together. They're separate. Oh, we just did that.
Yeah, you already did that.
I move to, go ahead.
I move to approve.
Second.
any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Zemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Item N, discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the 2020-2021 District Science Textbook Committee.
I move to approve.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I'll second it.
thank you. Any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Discussion, item O, discussion and vote to approve or not to approve the THS 20. Shouldn't that be 21? 20?
Yeah,
Yes.
20,
my bad.
the 20, I didn't call out any names.
That's okay, my bad. I just saw that.
The TH has 2020-2021 graduation date of May 21st, 2021.
Move to approve the graduation date to May 21st, 2021.
And that's a Friday.
Yes.
Yes.
As of for now.
Yeah. For now. And if we already on the calendar for that date, this is just set in stone for us to get an SU. But yes, for now, that's a good addition.
Okay.
I second.
Any discussion? Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd, and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the schedule for 2021 Board of Education meetings.
Motion before I call.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
Now, I don't know if you had a chance to look over the dates that we put in there. We can change any of these. We just tried to look at last year's dates. I think it worked out this year where everyone is on a Tuesday this year, all the same times. But if anybody saw any conflicts with a certain month or anything, we can certainly change that tonight. There's just some dates that we worked out to try to match with last year's dates as close as we could. So if anybody has anything they want to change, we can have that discussion.
These are the third Tuesdays, are they?
Most of them.
Are
Some
they?
of them are not.
Yeah, most of them. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Some of them we have to hit different dates, deadlines within the month to have certain things approved. So there are a few that are not.
Any more discussion?
To approve the schedule of 2021 Board of Education meeting.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker, Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Okay, item Q. Discussion and vote to approve a Board of Education primary election to be held February 9, 2021. Only if 3 or more candidates file for the Board of Education position scheduled to be on the ballot, or for a Board of Education position appearing on the ballot as an unexpired term. Board of Education general election shall be held on April 6, 2021, under the following circumstances. If only 2 candidates file for positions scheduled to be on the ballot, or for position on the ballot for an unexpired term, or if no candidate in the Board of Education primary election receives more than 50% of the votes cast. The voters shall elect a board member for board position number 1, which has a 5-year term of office, and board position number 5, which has a 4-year term of office remaining in an unexpired position. The polling places shall be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Request to close precinct polling places for precinct 7, 9, and 11.
I move to approve.
I'll second. Any discussion?
So that's saying we want the 3, only if 3 or
Yes,
more file for the board.
Okay, explain that, Leon.
On the February date, there's 3 or more, there would be an election at that time.
And then there could be a runoff.
Yeah.
in April.
If there's only 2, then it.
Yeah, there's only 2, then it would just go through. Okay.
So
I have a
that's
question on
Walker's seat
if
and
this-
Shepherd's seat. He's doing the unexpired
Yes.
term, right?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Myers?
Yeah, I have a question here on if this COVID situation, and hopefully it is alleviated some, but do we have to write anything in there about a voting by absentee or anything like that? Or is that just assume that that can be done, or?
Yeah, it can be done. And that is automatic? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to have that in the motion or anything. then.
No, this language comes directly from the School Board Association.
All right, aye.
I have a question on the
Okay, hold on just a minute, Mr. Myers.
closing the precinct. I know last time it was 1, because there were like no voters there. the 4. Is that the reason?
I think this is the same 3.
It's the very same 3.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Ms. Walker, Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Just,
I know it passed, but can I just ask?
yeah, sure.
Do we know, are there, I don't know if we have them every year, will there be an election other than ours in April of next year? Do we know that?
It'll be school board elections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There at least the other school districts within our area, within the
Yeah, all
county
the-
elections, okay. I just didn't know if there were any state, county. Because I don't think there usually is immediately after a presidential.
Election. I don't know about that, but I know there will be other school board.
So, and I asked that because if it's a special that like we call, we have to pay for it. If it's one that's already scheduled for other things, it doesn't cost us money, correct?
Item R, discussion of possible bond project scope, cost, and available election dates.
Okay. There's 2 items here. This first item is just discussion. There'll be no voting as far as this goes. Just giving you some information. And I'm going to start. Robert has the drawings up on the board, and you each have the packet that has those as well. Stop me at any time and ask any questions you'd like. I'm just going to be thorough and go through everything that we need to. First, you can go to the next slide. First is just a picture of the new proposed Greenwood front entrance. Go to the next slide, please. And then here we have, it takes into account all of the projects at Greenwood that we'll be looking at. Nothing on this has changed from the last drawing that you looked at last month. You can see we're looking at a new addition near the back of the current cafeteria, which will join to the existing stage. We'll be adding 3 special ed classrooms, also a music classroom. This will also be a storm shelter for all of the students and staff at Greenwood. We'll hold everybody there. The cost for all this, kind of the scope, is the addition that we talked about, the main entrance that we talked about, looking at improving the front drive and paving where needed, replacing some roof and wall panels inside, fixing the current gymnasium insulation system, kind of old, hanging down over there. Mechanical and electrical upgrades, intercom upgrades, basically new intercom throughout school. And then also we have to upgrade the fire alarm. The total cost for Greenwood would be $3,977,808 to renovate as it's shown at the facilities and the new facilities, the exterior improvements, and the mechanical and all those things that we talked about. Any questions on Greenwood?
Yeah, I have one.
Yes, sir.
I walk past Greenwood every day, and I'm having a hard time visualizing where the proposed addition is, because I can see the large ground area there, which is this big grassy sloping area, but there's already a building there. And so I can't vision where this is going to be in relation to what's already there.
I would just have to show you.
Well, I guess maybe we can go out and have lunch and do that. But
yes.
Am I not correct in that this green area is the area that's a kind of a sloping hill where the driveway is?
On the back side of the school.
It's behind the school.
Well, I see all the parking area. That's. I'm sorry. Say that again.
You do know it's on the back side of the school, correct? Not the front.
Well, are these parking areas then all been added? Is that?
Well, do you have it in front of you, the Greenwood?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do.
If you'll see the proposed new front entrance. Can you see that?
Yeah.
That is where the current front entrance is right now. So we're in front of that, we're looking at kind of improving the parking areas. But if you go on the very back, you'll see the little box of the proposed addition. That's on the back side of the school, the back of the cafeteria area.
Oh, okay. So it's behind the building that's already there.
You won't see the
All right,
existing road.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Now I get it.
Okay.
Yeah, it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Now we'll go on to Cherokee. I'll build a new slide. This did change from the last. I had the architect sit down with every principal of every project that we were looking at, just to do a final meeting to make sure there was nothing that we were overlooking, couldn't do better. And on one, and this is one that we did make some changes on Cherokee, the previous proposal. Go ahead and go to the next slide. There, sorry. The previous proposal of renovating the old cafeteria into the library, nurses station, all that's still there. We tweaked some of the spaces, but that's still there. But we changed our thoughts on the new entrance, the new administration area, because the way it looked, we were probably going to lose some classroom space to make that happen. And our goal would be to try to preserve as much classroom space as we can. So if you'll look, the very top right there, and down the hallway that the current admin office is, this new addition right there on the end of that. That would be your new entrance. And as you can see from the slide before, it has a little covered entrance there. It's got 3 offices, a conference room, our SRO will be office there. And then as you can see, there would be a corridor that goes over to the next area right there, and then we'd be adding some bathrooms as well. That's one of the requests that the site admin made, to add some bathrooms to that portion of the building. Other than that, that is the big change that we looked at Cherokee, and then we're still keeping the media center, nurses area, and the cost on Cherokee. Converting the cafeteria, the media center, nurses office, the administration addition, the restroom renovation at the existing library, improvements to the west and north parking lots and drive areas, and new intercom for the entire school site, the same as Greenwood, got the fire alarms and also the suppression system. That brings us to $2,076,500 for the Cherokee proposal.
Just to be sure on that, word, the covered entry, that will be the new main entry?
Yes. Yeah, see the secure vestibule, we'll go through the covered entry.
I know before we had on Cherokee, the parking that's on the west side, because I know we parked there, rain, like
Yeah, that's.
4 inches of water.
Yeah.
And is that still on there or no?
Yes, it's
Okay.
still, if you'll, I should point out, I'm reading the prices off this list here too. It kind of breaks it down for Cherokee.
Okay, I see.
The west and north parking lots, we're still looking at those. Okay.
She's let me-
I understand, me too. Okay, go to the next, please. We made some changes to the high school addition as well. With the previous drawing, kind of most of our conversations took place with Mrs. Bush. Wilson in there now, we sent the architects to visit with her to see how she's been in there a little while, to see what she saw. There would be different needs or better uses of the space. So if you'll look, we're still keeping it the same area that we proposed last month. It's still in front of the current student entrance. We would just be kind of moving it over. There would be a covered entry to the current entrance, so the entrance wouldn't change. We would be adding 4 classrooms, and there would be a large presentation area and meeting areas for nurses, counselors, colleges, whatever it may be. But they saw kind of a bigger need for a meeting area, presentation area for teachers and kids. So that was added into that. There's also 2 restrooms in there. And then this also serves as a storm shelter for the high school. All the students and staff can fit into this space. That didn't change from the last.
Where do you anticipate that it won't affect us much, losing approximately 30 parking spots where that is going? Is that correct?
That will be a little bit of an issue because we are full.
I didn't see any empty spaces hardly, not 30.
So we may have to reconfigure the current space make it user friendly, but I think, you know, if you see some of the areas up in here, right, we could do some, yeah, I think we could add a little bit to help make up for those lost areas. And then the high school addition, since it's new, it's not broken down to all the things that we have to renovate, like Greenwood and Cherokee. The high school addition is $4,475,272. What that would cost. Next, we have the indoor athletic facility, and this is the outside rendering of it. You can go ahead and go to the next one over. The footprint of this did not change. The size and price stayed the same, but in visiting with the coaches, I had the architects visit with them as well, also Mr. Cloud. They wanted more open usable space. So if you look, basically, it will have a full baseball field on the inside, and also a full softball field in that area. And then we'll also have areas for the batting cages where they basically shrank the offices and training rooms and those things. That way they can get more practice space for the students. So that's the biggest change out of that. The locker room stayed the same, but all of the office space and the training area, we took the training area away, and then the offices shrunk down. That way we could basically, that will basically be a full baseball field on the inside. And that can be used by any of our sports, baseball, softball, football, soccer. Anybody who needs to use that during their season, while it may be raining, cold, whatever the case may be.
Can you explain that? So that's covered?
Say that again?
This is a big facility.
Yes, this is an indoor facility.
Indoor facility.
Yes.
Wow. That cost stay the same?
With 60 by 60 and then baseball 90 by 90, but that's because the baseball is extended 30 by 30, right? That's not.
Yes. This is all just an open area.
Okay.
For practice, and then we'll have these batting cages. They can be raised and lowered.
Right. Okay.
That's right there. So it can be just an open area, or the cages can be lowered.
We're calling this baseball softball, but I assume that there may be other groups
Athletic
in off season that not those seasons or whatever.
Yeah, any sports, any group that want to use it, it will be there for them.
And it's turf then?
Well,
this area here.
Will these bits just be practice facilities, or is it suitable enough that it could be used in inclement weather for a regular game?
Well, not baseball and softball. That probably cause a little bit of damage, but no, it'd probably just be practice. I can't think of a sport that we'd be able to do in there for a game setting, but it would allow any of our sports to use it, whether it's raining, snowing, cold. Basically, it's just a big open area, so it would be available to all our groups.
Did that money amount change?
No, I believe that is still the same, and that's $3,390,990. And the last slide that you have, this is, the land that we're looking to purchase, or we have purchased. We're looking to roll it into the bond as well. This would be a grade level center. We're looking at freshman academy. As you can see, you have the car loop there on the front side, back side bus loop parking, and this is a rough generalization. I mean, once we get to the point, and for any of these things, whether it be Cherokee, Greenwood, the indoor facility, we would have to have the final design approved by the board before it gets built. So this is just what we think it's going to look like. This is the price tag that we're attaching to it. So any of these things, the aesthetics of it can change. If there's things that we want in the future. But as you can see, cafeteria, gym, classrooms, library, administration area, just a new school for a freshman. Again, with our purchase of the land, the proximity of our current high school, that's why we're looking at that option. That's
what's our freshman class approximately?
300.
300.
It's maybe a little more.
Yeah.
It's usually a little higher for freshmen.
So has that been?
That's a lot of parking. That's a lot of parking for kids that aren't driving cars yet.
Oh, they drive.
Few of them will be driving, but yeah, it's a lot of parking. And again, like I said, these things can be changed. The parking lot, the buildings, it can all look totally different, but this is just our first rendering.
So last time we talked about this, we talked about the purchase of the land, but not the actual construction of the
Last time, he just briefly, he showed us this picture, and we talked about it, so that was really all that we did. As you can see, the price on this would be 18.3 million to construct, top to bottom, so that's a hefty price tag. That's pretty much the total bond that I was looking at before. So
That's all the rest of these together add up to what, about 16?
I think if you add everything that I'm gonna go through today, it's about 40. So this
Well,
is,
with this.
yeah, this goes to, but this will be about half.
Where we can, I would love to be able to, I mean, I think that's a very important piece. As far as the success, we lose a lot of kids in that 9th grade sophomore transitional period, you know. And it's a strong dropout point. I think it's difficult for 9th graders to mix well in with sophomores, and juniors and seniors. I think it affects their having been put in to the high school setting versus the old junior high setting when they were on the top of the heap and they, you know, basically performed accordingly. Put down at that lower level and that immaturity, I think it's had a great impact on their academic well-being and their socialization. And
What are the numbers of, so I know a lot of freshmen who go here K through 8, well, they come, I say a lot. What is that percentage?
Yes,
Are they asking how many is she?
How many
asking how
in the
many come
stores?
in? Because we could have from Abby's side about 220, 240.
240.
So then 100 and probably 50 kids come in from different places and from different sites.
Yeah, that was.
Sometimes our enrollment and freshmen have been as high as like 398, 398 freshmen. And so it's usually our biggest class.
40%, is that a rough of that freshman class would be approximately 40% are those coming in from the
Other feeder schools and just move-ins, yeah.
And this is, obviously the reason that we put the time in to create this was the availability of the land. So we didn't have an area to do it.
It's closed now.
Almost. It has been quite a process, but I think next week or week after that, we have a new closing date. There's been a lot of hiccups because it's transferring from a charitable entity to a school instead of us buying. There's just been a lot of complications that I've learned a lot as well. And that we have a new closing date and it should be done. And so that was really the main reason that we looked into this, just to see the feasibility of it and the cost, what it would be. And then also, the board also needs to be aware, the 18 million builds the building. We have to staff it. We have to pay the utilities. Those would be recurring costs every year. It would be a new cafeteria staff. It would be a new custodial staff. It would be, we could move a BP from the high school, we could move a counselor from the high school, but you need a new principal. SRO. Teachers, it would take us probably 3 to 5 years through our hiring practices to even out the 9th grade center in the high school, because we don't want our high school teachers driving back and forth every hour teaching Spanish or English or whatever the case may be. So that would be a challenge, and those would be added costs for the first 3 to 5 years of the opening of the building before we could get that to level out where we have the right amount of the freshman academy and the right amount of the high school. It's hard to put an exact number on that, but I can see that $500,000 a year extra to the general fund, outside of any bond money, just to get that going. Now that would level off once we got our hiring practices where it needs to be, but that's also a genuine concern that I want the board to know. If we do proceed with something like that, that would put a strain on the budget. Now, it would level out over the years, but for a few years, it would drain us a little bit. So,
In relationship, do you recall what Heritage cost back when it was built, roughly?
the cost of the
The cost
construction,
of the construction of the building and everything?
I think it was
Was it close to $18 million, or is it more or less? Does anybody know?
honestly don't remember.
Just curious in relation to what.
I think it was less, just because the construction cost was cheaper. Yeah, I think it was an $18 million bond from the school passed it, but there was other things that were done. So I can get that.
I was just curious to see his perspective of what this school's costed versus the last bill.
So that's the details of that. I want to make sure that you understand. And again, we don't have to make decisions tonight.
We would definitely make this building more energy efficient.
Absolutely.
Heritage.
Absolutely.
Spend a lot of money in utilities.
And this wouldn't be a quick build either. This, I could see, I mean, if you pass this year, obviously not this year, not next year, at the earliest, it would be the year after that it could possibly open. So because we would have all these other projects going, we would have to finish a project. We could maybe run 2 projects simultaneously, but the more projects we have going, the more project managers we have to pay for the construction managers. So we need to kind of have a narrow focus, get 1 or 2 done, and then move to the other. So it would be one of those things where this was first or this was last. So, but I can see it being, 2 to 3 years before we have students in it, the date of passage.
In this packet, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was curious about timeline, and we're not going to talk about potential dates and that time, and it's whatever we set it as, but I would really like for that 9th grade center for us to do another, some kind of survey about that. Like, I think we got good feedback last time, because it's such a big ticket item that, I don't think, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, that anyone is looking at doing that in lieu of everything else. So are we gonna do this half of fixing and expanding everything, or are we gonna do this full big one where we're gonna fix and expand and build this? And I would, I understand that the company we hired helps us with some of this, like once we start going, but I think we have to make an initial decision. Do we want to include this? And information on both what it does to taxes and what the community support. I think, because you don't want to add this thing and it tank the rest of it because it's too much. But if there's support for it and people are, I think now's the time to do it if you can. But I just don't, I have no idea what our community thinks about that.
I think that's a good idea. Plus, we've bought the land and they know we have the land, the community does. So what are we gonna do with the land? So I'm with you about a survey.
This is an area that I want to support it if the support is there, but I don't want the other stuff that is so desperately needed to not pass because we put too much on. And I think getting some kind of feedback is, what we can do to kind of have some decision making on that.
Well, that is my main concern. I think anybody in the room, I'm very conservative as far as I probably have a different word for it. But so to go from
Mark on a tree.
Looking at a $4 million addition at the high school to nearly a $20 million grade level center, it gives me a little bit of heartburn. So I am all for spending more time and looking into it. I just wanted to go on board with the possibilities. And I have the tax numbers here. I'll go over them here in just a minute. That way you have those tonight. You know what that is.
When do you hope to present? When do you hope to present the bond for vote?
Well, I'll go over that in just a little bit. The available dates.
Well, because I mean, the reason I'm asking is because if you include that 18 million in with the bond, and we're looking at a bond for 40 million, what are the possibilities of it passing as if we did not put it in, and you're proposing a bond of 20 million? And if we do that, then how long will we have to wait if we still wanted that center? How long will we have to wait for another bond to pay for that one?
Well, our last, I think the Heritage Bond was 2009, around that time, and we're still paying on that as of today. And I'll go through these here in just a minute. It's going to drag. Either way, we're looking at 2031, 2033. So this bond's paid off. Now, you can pass the bond anytime you want. It's just going to raise taxes. So you're basically looking at whatever we do with this bond, we're not going to see another big ticket improvement throughout the district till roughly 2030, 2031, 2032, something like that.
So if we did not include that building in the bond request and request for the $40 million bond, then we'd have to wait until 2030 something, you're saying, before we could do it again.
That is correct. And then also another, concern, if we spend $4 million on the high school addition, adding classrooms, and then if we pass the bond 10 years from now, build a grade level center, now we have room that we don't really need at the high school, unless we have a lot of growth. I mean, we could fill it up, so that those are just the ins and outs of the things that, we have to think about for the future. I still have more money to go over. This form here just has the rest of it. The things that we're looking at, the next will be the Sequoia roof replacement. The roofing at Sequoia in spots is in terrible need of some repair. We priced that at $382,191. We have a placeholder here. It's just district-wide interior renovations. We have 3.2 million, and that can be brought down. That can be taken out totally. But what that is, looking at our elementary schools, especially Cherokee, Greenwood, there is wood paneling as far as the eye can see throughout the school. So basically, the biggest chunk of this would be looking at going into those schools, replacing all that in the hallways, renovating classrooms. So that's when we say district-wide interior renovations, that's the main thing that can be. Now, that could be at any site. That could be something at the middle school. It could be anywhere. But that's just, they did the calculation to replace all of the wood paneling, renovate classrooms, and that's the number they came up with. So that's what that number there is for. Let's see. The next, we have a turf at the existing track. And the thinking behind that is, we don't have our own football stadium per se. We play at NSU, but we do have the 2 practice fields, and they serve us very, very well. But we were looking at adding the turf to that field for a few reasons. For athletics, number one, soccer could have their games there. Football would now be able to practice on turf. Our partnerships with the city football, everything like that, they could use that field. And also a big draw to that is our band. They have, I don't know if you know where they practice, right above the track in a little area. They don't have enough room, and it's hard to maintain that grass as much as they march and move around on it. And that's why we kind of kept them from going to the football field, because it would just be too hard to maintain that grass in that field with all the traffic that they would put on it. But then this would allow our bands to be there to practice. We wouldn't have any upkeep. So that's one of the biggest reasons that we're looking at that. This would be a very basic turfing. This would be like a fancy stadium with emblems in the middle and anything. It's just a basic turf.
What would it take to start getting our 7th, 8th, and 9th grades there? I mean, I've traveled a little bit going to 8th grade football. I mean, we probably have one of the worst
You mean them playing at NSU?
Versus like going to Collinsville or Pryor or Grove or wherever, going to see where they play football 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. I mean, the facilities. I didn't know if we're going to put this kind of money into that, have a field. Like, could we move our 7th, 8th, and 9th grade football and maybe throw a set of bleachers on the other side for the home team and get away from playing games where they're being played now? I don't know, it's just, it was there when I was going to school here, and it looks the exact same.
That's definitely something we could do. Again, with the other renovations in the district, before things that done, we could move some of that money to upgrade some of their stuff.
Anyone else would have thoughts on that?
Are we talking about the field that's between the high school and the junior high, or are we talking about the track field?
Yes, between the high school.
We're talking about turfing the one at the track. He's talking about the one that we play on, yes. In between the middle school and the high school.
So you're talking about putting the turf on the track field?
Yes.
Not on the junior varsity field?
Yes, and that could change, but right now that's what we're looking at. Basically, we would be looking at turfing one of our fields. And if we looked at, improving stuff, maybe we turf the upper field and improve some of those areas there. Okay, next, after that, we have technology, and we have $1 million. And on the back page, kind of broken down what we're looking at there. $300,000 to update the entire district phone system, replacing the server core, $250,000, $200,000 worth of interactive TVs for teacher classrooms, $100,000 worth of student Chromebooks, which are current, as we don't know how long, virtual, replenishing those supplies is very important. And then security upgrades throughout the district at $50,000. Next, we have transportation. Have that broken down in 4 new route buses for the district, 1 sped bus, looking at 3 new SRO vehicles. Thinking behind that, we have an agreement with the city. It is our responsibility to provide SRO vehicles to all of our SROs. They are all getting worse for wear, a bit older. It would chew up our whole bond to replace the entire fleet. So I was just looking at replacing 3 through the bond, and they would commit to buying 1 a year through the general fund until we get them all replaced. So that's why the SR vehicles are in there. Then also we've included 1 van or suburban, a new transport for staff or students, and then 1 activity bus, $50,000 for the van, and then $155,000 for the activity bus. So that's what we're looking at for the transportation portion of it. The final 2 things we were looking at was band instruments for our band program. We have $500,000 there. That would replace everything at the high school program. And all those could be moved down and used at middle school, elementary level, anything else that they would like to use them for. And one of the biggest reasons, 500,000 is a lot, but in the scope of what we're doing is very small, and our band is very big. That's a lot of people that we hope to come vote, so that's kind of why we're looking at including that. PAC upgrades will be the last one. I've got $200,000 there, just to kind of update the sound system, the lighting, maybe some new carpet, at the PAC. And that's everything that we priced at and looked at in the bond. One thing I do want to just go over with you, just so you're aware, Mr. Shepherd knows, but I've been approached by the city, the Armory down here. They're moving their offices out, and I think they had some conversations with Ms. Presley several years ago about options of buying that. So they approached me. We looked at it. I've had the architects go through and look at the building. I'll be quite honest. We can't do anything with it with students. So if we bought it, maybe I need to think outside the box more, but I can't think of anything else we would do with it other than a new board of education. So I just don't know about, because as you can see, their estimate was, they still haven't got an appraisal on it yet, but they were thinking between $1 and $1.5 million to purchase the building. And then as it sits now, it doesn't have the office space that we have in this building. So it had to be renovated. The architects looked about 1.9 just to renovate it to have the same space that we have in here. Now, it would have a very large boardroom, but other than that, it would have the same number of offices. Along that lines, if the board did want to do that or ever wanted to do that, I think the more feasible and better decision for us would be central. It's sitting vacant. It's something that we're going to have to do something with one of these days, whether it's to tear it down or to renovate it. So I had him look at that as well, basically to turn that into a new board of education. 3.7 million would be to renovate the entire thing. That would be new parking in the front where the current playground area is, top and bottom. It would be new from top to bottom. But again, that's a lot of money. And again, my main worry is we're already going to be asking for a lot of money. It's already going to increase taxes. I don't really want to say, hey, please vote for this and raise your taxes so we can all have new offices. That's, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how needed that is.
Give us Chromebooks.
Yeah. So I just wanted to, since I was approached, I wanted to price it out, do our due diligence, and look at it. So I just wanted you to have that information. That way you can. And that is all the prices. Next, I want to go to this document here. Okay, this is gonna be a breakdown of basically, yes. This packet will be a breakdown and give us our information on running 2 different bonds. Now, we can have a totally different package. We can do 20 million, 25 million, 30 million, 40 million, but basically what we're looking at here is going to be a $24 million bond, which will give us $21 million to spend. That will do everything on this paper except the grade level center. Okay, and then the second option is going to be a $42 million bond, which gives us 35 million to spend, and that does everything on this paper except the high school addition. It does the grade level center. So on the front page, this is just a history of our net assessed valuation, and that's what your general bonding capacity is based on. At any point in time, the district could be bonded up to 10% of their net assessed valuation without having to raise taxes. To do that, anything over that, you have to raise taxes. So you can see that that's from 1995 all the way up to current. We generally around a 4% increase each year in valuations, you can see. If you go on to the second page, this will be the option that is not the grade level center. This will be a $24.5 million bond, and that gives us $21 million to spend because there's all the fees and everything else that comes out of it. That's why we have to bond for more than we're actually going to use. But you can see there, it tells you the millage for the county, the town, the tech center, schools. So basically what that would be is a 4.97% tax increase. Over to the right there, it breaks it down. Say that again.
City tax increase.
Property tax. I'm sorry, I should have said that. So if you look to the right there, it kind of breaks it down. This would be the kind of information we put out to the public. It says here's what your 2020 taxes were. If this is passed, here's what your 2021 taxes will be. So it gives you, if you're paying $100, for every $100 you pay, you'll pay $4.97 for. It breaks it all the way down to $1,000. If you paid $1,000, you paid $49 if this bond passes. So those are the kind of things that we would put out to the community as far as the increases. The next page, it gives you the summary of levies throughout the life of the bond. As you can see, this bond would run until 2033. And it piggybacks on our current bond for the next couple of years, and then it just replaces it in full. And as you can see, each series over to the left there, it tells you how much we get through each series as it's projected out, and that will give us $21 million to spend. So the big things on this you need to take away, it will be a little bit less than a 5% tax increase for the $20 million bond, and we'll be bonded up until 2033 for that.
For 40, it would be about 6%.
Yeah, go to the next page and we'll talk about that one right now. And the number at the top of this one, 38.4, that's wrong. It would be 42. So just kind of ignore that for now. We'll get that fixed when we get to needing it. But all the other numbers are correct. For the bond that would build the grade level center and everything else that we've talked about, that would be a 6.13% tax increase, property taxes. And then again, that kind of breaks it down, the impact to the taxpayer on the right. Pretty simple math, $106.13 increase, so every 100 above that. And then if you look on the next page, the difference is it's going to have to go out a little bit further to get to the same amount of money. So this goes out until 2036. So if we do the bonding center, we are bonded pretty much to capacity until 2036. And then that gives us 35 million, and that will cover everything that we have there. Now we may have to, on that 35 million, we may have to reduce some of the district-wide interior renovations to get to that number, but that's kind of the number that I'm used to play with to get under the so.
Yeah, just to clarify this, the second one with the bigger number with the ninth grade center does not include high school because we wouldn't need the high school.
It would not include the high school addition because in theory, we're going to be removing 300-400 kids from high school, so we should have enough space there. And we could use some of that renovation money to renovate some of the high school classrooms. Places that.
I'm surprised at the percentage difference to be from 6.13 to 4.97. That's not that big of a difference for.
Not a big difference. It's just because it's stretching out for a few more years.
What do we currently owe? What is our amount that we owe the bond that we have?
believe we are at around 4.5 till we have 2 more years, 3 more years, about $2 million per series per year, 4 to 5. And there it is.
Okay.
And again, this would be, piggyback on top of that. We'll still be running that bond and paying it off. We'll just be doing a new one on top of it. So that's the tax portion of it. Any questions on that? Okay. The next document, look at just a single page. It has dates on it. Now, the earliest I would recommend that we try to do this would be a February date. And again, like I said, this could be, we can do it next year. I know February, but we can do it a year from now. We can do it 12 months from now, 18 months from now, or we can try to get it done depending on how we want to go. But the earliest we can do would be a February 9th. That will be on the regular school primary elections. Our date for that, it says December 10th, but around by December 1st, it would need to be done. So we would have to have a special board meeting sometime after the regular November board meeting. Because we would have to have the bonding company, they come in, they'll have a big stack of papers, so we'll sign, all the numbers will be down to the penny and official and all those things. So that's why we'll have to know what we're bonding for and the date. The drawings and all that kind of stuff, those things can change later. We can reconfigure an office or reconfigure a building, anything like that. But the amount, money, and the date, those are the things that we would have to have locked down.
Absolutely.
Yeah, whenever we get there. So as you can see through here, February would be our soonest. And everyone that says a special election, that's obviously it's a special election, so that cost to us would be between $7,000 and $11,000 for an election. So if we were to call one with nothing but the bond issue, that's what it would cost additional.
But if we piggyback on the February 9th, we pay nothing.
No.
Or April. We don't.
Or April, yes.
Or April.
So if we're going to do it, to save a little bit of money, it'd be wise to pick one of those 2 dates. And the soonest we can do is the February.
Is there any, generally in politics, there are certain things that you like on general elections and certain things you don't because of turnout. Is there on bonds, is there like a consensus there about which is better?
Well, you would never run a bond on a presidential election date or a governor election date or anything like that, because the more people that are there to vote for something else, they don't care about your bond. They're just going to vote no just because they're there while they're voting. So it is important to pick a date that doesn't have anything controversial, that doesn't have a lot of political sides to it, because we want the people who are just going to come vote for or against the bond. Not a lot of other reasons they're going to come vote for that. And if it's on the school board election, then obviously there's historically not a high turnout for a school board election. So that really wouldn't be it shouldn't conflict with what we're trying to do. Yeah.
But if there's that's a lot of money, $7,000 to $11,000, but in the realm of things is, that's a lot of $38 million, a lot of money that we're asking for too. So if any of those dates a better date, even if it did cost us $7 to $10 grand, then it might have more of a chance to pass.
Well, I don't think it would if that was the only thing on the ballot. Nobody's going to come out back there.
But you only need 51% to say yes, right? Is that right?
Super majority on the ball.
I don't want to spend $11,000.
60%.
It seems as though we're talking about, I'm sorry, I'm getting, but it seems as though we're talking about a date for this next year in 2021. When you said this could be done the following year, I'm wondering how important it is that we do it right now in a time when we have people struggling with COVID. And I don't know, does anyone have any statistics on how unemployment has been affected by our area? Maybe people have other things on their mind than raising taxes at this particular time. Perhaps if we got through that period where we're stressing over COVID, it would be less stressful for people, or they may be more inclined to be interested in doing it? I mean, is this something that needs to be done now, this year?
It does not have to be done, no. And again, that's a valid concern that I've had that conversation with several people. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know it's not the best environment to try to pass a bond. Not the best time to ask for a tax increase when in the middle of a pandemic or when people are unemployed. And it's never good to ask for a tax increase, but it's probably not the ideal time. So those are,
That's a valid.
yeah, those are considerations that the board does have to make. And again, like I said, you don't have to make any decisions tonight as far as this goes. But again, these, a lot of the, especially the elementary, improvements are, I mean, we're not going to shut down tomorrow if we don't get them, but they are very needed. Yeah. Those, I'm not saying the other things aren't, but especially at the elementary level, those projects are pretty important. And, that's why I have them listed first as far as what we're looking to do. And, yes, we can do them in a year, 2 years, 3 years. But then again, all these numbers go up every 6 months, every year, the cost of construction. So in a year, that 8th grade center may be 20 million instead of 18 million. Greenwood.
How crowded is the high school under normal circumstances when we're not having virtual students and everybody is in class? How crowded is that high school?
It's pretty crowded.
Everything is full. I mean, we have room for everybody. We fit them in the doors and close them behind them. But there's.
What about the middle school?
We're not busting, but it's getting close. The middle school is growing. District-wide, we only have a handful of empty classrooms that may be serving a different purpose right now. But pretty much at every site, every classroom is being used every day.
If that new center were to be an 8th and 9th grade center, would that alleviate any problems? Or would it be not big enough to be able to handle both 8th and 9th grade?
It would just increase the cost because we would have to add more classrooms. And then, yes, that would open up space at the middle school and the high school. Again, the main reason I look at that was just we were already at 40 million. So I was trying to cut it off at that point. But yeah, that is an option that we can look at.
Well, yeah, I don't think we need to make that building bigger. So, and if that's not feasible for 2 grades, then the 1 would certainly be sufficient. But
yeah, no, the 18 million is going to fit. I think it was 420 max. So it will handle our largest class that we've ever had as a 9th grade, but it wouldn't handle a whole new grade level to go in there with them as well.
Well, I want to avoid any situation where we had, like when we built the new middle school, they were in it within 1 year, they were at capacity. They had already outgrown it. And that's why I think we ended up moving. Wasn't that one of the reasons why we ended up moving the 9th grade back into the high school?
I'm not sure on that one.
Well, they built what they thought was gonna almost be like a 9th grade center at the high school, and then English department, everybody got that, but they moved all the freshmen up. And then we wanted to get out of Central, so we moved our 6th grade up, and then what did we do with 5th grade? We had the building, the 16 building. And you hear it both ways. Middle school usually wants freshmen at the high school, and high school wants freshmen at the middle school.
We gave them a number, I'm told to exceed our largest class.
The thing is, when you're doing all of that scrambling too, you end up spending a lot of money and you still don't have anything substantial. I was thinking those buildings that they put up for the 5th grade, that was supposed to be for what, a year or 2 or anyway, you get into those situations and then you're kind of stuck.
I can't give them away.
I just wanted to, in response to Mr. Meyer's comment about, this might not be a great time because of loss of income and that thing, but I think on the flip side of that, as we talked about earlier, that this is, seems to be a time of appreciation for public education generally. We've had some of the charter school stuff going on where there's this, it seems to be this time of everyone appreciates and is supporting public education in a way that we don't always see. And I think that goodwill this is a good time for it. The next, 6 to 8 months, everyone is still dealing with all of these new things, and they're seeing schools and teachers and administration come through and take care of kids. I think it's a good time to do it in the spring.
I think it's a good time to, I think we need to do a survey. And then we need to meet in November and then have a special meeting and make a decision there.
That those bonding companies are that supervising and handling all of this, didn't they come through and they say they would do advertising and surveys and those?
Well, not surveys, but yeah, our construction company and architects, whenever we set a bond, they will, all of these pictures and stuff.
Once we decide to do it, then they'll hold meetings to sell it to the public.
I mean, I just remember that was a part of the big sell, was that they were going to be very.
Yeah, now the survey part, pre-bond stuff, is post-bond, they'll take care of pretty much everything. I mean, we will still, I still have to be out, I'll still have to meet with groups and sell, I'll need board members to sell whenever you can, whoever you talk to, we'll need teachers to be supportive, so it'll be a group effort.
I would just really like to see a simple survey with and I agree that it, doubling the bond amount does not double the tax rate. And so to say, for $20 million, we can do this thing and it's gonna raise your taxes this much. For $40 million, we can do these things, it's gonna raise your taxes this much. For the third option, I would vote no.
Yeah.
And I know it's not scientific because it's, we open it to everybody and people can be multiple and all of that, but I don't have any idea what the community thinks about this. It sounds like we're all pretty supportive of it, even at a higher level, but if we get 70% of the people want the cheaper option just on an informal survey, then it might really change our opinion on where we want to go with that.
I can start preparing that tomorrow, get that out, have it ready for the November meeting. The last thing
I think that's it.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
We need to get the input.
Just for comparison, I have this page, just compare the millage rates for other school districts. And you can see some are very, very low. Our current is 24.7, so you can either add 5 to it or add 6 to it as far as what it would be after the bond passes. So you can see there are some districts, Bixby, Collinsville, Enid, Sand Springs, Skytook, they all would still have higher millage rates than us. But then there are some that you can see that aren't near that high. So we're kind of in the middle right now where we're sitting.
But they've had OG&E for years,
Yeah.
and those sorts of.
Yeah, they're not a real good comparison.
No, they're not. I talked to them for a number of years, but they're so nice facility.
So I just wanted you to have that as well. That is pretty much, the culmination of about a year and a half working on trying to get different options. So
Seems to me in a way that bond issues like September makes sense.
well, I'm taking time, and we put a lot of people. Our architects have been really, really good. Construction company's been great. Principals have been good. Business architects putting their input, making sure it's usable. Because my idea may not be. I'm not there every day, so I make sure we have those people who are building every day. So with all that said, if you guys don't have any other questions, I can start that survey process tomorrow. So that would mean on item S, you would just table that. And we would go from there.
I have a motion to table item S.
I'll move to table item S.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Ed?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And I. We're gonna table that till next month. Item T, discussion of vote to approve or not approve the schedule of encumbrances.
Move to approve the schedule of
Versus, okay.
1 and 2. Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Zemo? Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And I. Item U, motion and vote to approve or not to approve personnel items.
I move to approve items U 1 through 4 with the following names under employment. John Teehee, THS, SEL Para, Patrick Carlisle, THS Special Care Para, Laura Rowan, Transportations and Bus Driver, Kathy Hale, Transportations Bus Driver, Amanda Waite, Greenwood Special Care Para, Joseph Knight, TMS PT Para Sub, Deanna Haynes, TMS Guard Shack, Linda Spears, THS Special Care Para, pending certification, Natalie Morgan, THS English Teacher, pending certification, and last, Brennan Lombardi, THS/Library Para.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Nemo?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Abstain.
Okay. Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And I. Item 4, extra duty assignment.
That should have been.
That's part of.
That was part of it.
Oh, okay, so, okay. All right, new business. Is there any new business?
No.
Let's make a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second, Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Ms. Nemo. Ms. Walker.